Now that the summer transfer window is shut, we can get back to strictly the business of football on the pitch. With that in mind, who was the key signing for each Premier League club? Before we start, a few variables were considered when choosing these picks: the price paid for the player, the age of the player, and the importance of the player's position on the team's performance. Despite spending over $130 million, Arsenal haven't signed anyone with considerable experience at the highest level. No signing was older than 23, but it is one of the younger players, Zambi Lokongo, that looks to be the best bit of business. At just £15 million, the former Anderlecht captain has added progressive passing and ball carrying to Arsenal's laborious midfield. His impressive start to the season should see the Belgian nail down a starting spot alongside Thomas Partey. Replacing Grealish was always going to be an impossible task for Aston Villa. However, the acquisition of Emi Buendia should at least go some way to filling the void. Although not a like-for-like, Buendia will bear the creative fulcrum for Aston Villa. Last season, he created the most chances in the Championship and managed 31 goal involvements in 39 games. Unlike some of Aston Villa's other signings, Buendia is yet to hit his peak, as he'll look to increase his performance level in the Midlands. Whilst Brentford didn't break the bank this summer, they still managed to make smart investments, most notably Christoph Ayer, who has arrived from Celtic, and Frank Onyeka from Midtjylland. Onyeka's ability to add bite and tenacity to Brentford's midfield, whilst also having the ability to carry the ball up the pitch, will be key if the Bees are able to survive this season. Still at only 23, Onyeka should improve, as his profile is that of a typical Premier League midfielder. The sale of Ben White for £50 million has allowed Brighton to recruit a series of youngsters and still make a profit. Cucurella's enthusiasm will undoubtedly make him a fan's favourite, but our choice is Enoch Mwepu. The Zambian has Champions League experience from his time at RB Salzburg. More importantly, the midfielder will add some much-needed goals to Brighton's midfield. He scored 11 times in 81 league games for his former club. As well as this, Mwepu performed 3.7 shot-creating actions per 90. Still just 23, Mwepu should evolve into the perfect accomplice for Zuma in the Brighton midfield. For the most part, Burnley have been typically stringent in the transfer market. The most eye-catching move is their record-breaking acquisition of Maxwell Cornet from Lyon. However, with Charlie Taylor and Dwight McNeil already occupying positions on the left, he may find most of his appearances come from the bench. Instead, Connor Roberts should slot into Burnley's starting team at right-back. As a tenacious, hard-working player, he fits Burnley's philosophy, although he's used to playing in a back five, which may lead to an adaptation period, but at just over $2 million, Roberts' value should only increase. Of course, it's the Belgian. Lukaku fired Inter to the Scudetto last season with 24 goals. Chelsea's top scorer last season was Jorginho with 7. Thomas Tuchel has made Chelsea a well-drilled unit, but now with the added pace, power and link-up play of Lukaku, the Blues will become a more complete force. Despite the obvious upsides, paying over $100 million for a 28-year-old who the club sold for £28 million 7 years earlier doesn't seem like the most sustainable transfer strategy, although sustainability isn't something that Chelsea promote. Crystal Palace have had the most active transfer window out of anyone in the Premier League. Up to 6 players have come in who can expect to start this season. Whilst there is a promising batch of young players joining the club, Will Hughes may be the most important to provide the Eagles some stability. With Patrick Vieira keen to have players more comfortable on the ball, Hughes can add some control and experience to the team of new recruits. Unlike last year, Everton have been more discreet with their summer purchases, spending just £1.8 million in total. Demarai Gray was the youngest recruit, still just 25, who has failed to live up to the early promise around his name at Birmingham. His arrival upon Merseyside wasn't met with much optimism for this reason, but a youthful, energetic winger is what Everton have been crying out for after the disappointing spells of Walcott and Bernard. Gray has showcased his talent, scoring twice in Everton's first 3 league matches, and he'll definitely look to build upon this as the season progresses. The additions of Junior Firpo and Daniel James should help Leeds consolidate themselves as a Premier League team, but it is a player that was already at the club from last season who has been the most valuable purchase. Jack Harrison has now joined permanently from Manchester City for £11.5 million. He finished last season with 16 goal involvements, second only to Patrick Bamford. He's shown himself to be a willing direct runner with the ball, with a keen eye for goal. This season again, the 24-year-old will hold the creative responsibility for Leeds along with the effervescent Rafinha. Quietly, Leicester may have had the most productive transfer window. The arrivals of Daka, Soumare, Vestergaard and Bertrand add both quality and depth to the side. Yet the loan signing of Ademola Lookman may have the greatest impact upon Leicester's season. Harvey Barnes has excelled on the left, but there is still a question mark over the right side of Leicester's midfield, with Ayoze Perez only impressing in cameos. Lookman totaled the most goal involvements last season for Fulham. He ranked 12th in the Premier League for carries into the penalty area. Leicester will be hoping for more direct ball carrying this season. Not much to choose from. It has to be Ibrahimo Kanate, who has signed months ago. The 22-year-old centre-back will provide excellent cover as he settles into life in England. At 6'4", he is excellent in the air, and his ability on the ball allows the Frenchman to carry the ball out of defence confidently. He still has work to do to usurp Matip into Liverpool's first team, but considering Liverpool's defensive ailments last season, securing one of Europe's top young centre-backs is a smart move. Like Liverpool, Man City only signed one player, but the addition of Grealish was arguably the most noteworthy of the summer. 16 goals and assists, as well as 14 big chances created last season, will add to Man City's already creative midfield. Despite the obvious quality, the question is whether Guardiola's signing offers something different to transform the club into Champions League winners. City's neighbours had the most glamorous window of anyone in the league. Most notably, Ronaldo's return to Old Trafford. Meanwhile, Sancho will add additional width options to one of the Premier League's best attacks. Still, questions remain over whether the capture of Ronaldo may stifle United's transformation. Sancho's quality is unquestionable, although the recent form of Greenwood means for now the signing isn't vital to United's immediate plans. Instead, Varane could be the missing piece to propel Man U to the top of the league. Maguire and Lindelof have impressed as a pair but never fully convinced. The assurance and experience of Varane should lead to a steely partnership with Harry Maguire. Newcastle had a typically quiet window. The one notable addition is Joe Willock from Arsenal. Willock's goals in 7 consecutive matches last season saved Newcastle from a relegation dogfight. Steve Bruce will hope that the signing can add goals to an at times pedestrian attack. Willock's ability to drive from midfield will reinvigorate how Newcastle can attack. Even still, the fans would have preferred to see a few more faces. Norwich have tried to plug the void left by Buendia with additions throughout the team. Pierre Lees-Malou and Milot Rashica will be the main players tasked with this. American Josh Sargent, despite only being 21, has the responsibility to score goals for Norwich. He scored 15 times in 83 appearances for Werder Bremen, but Norwich are confident that the American has the physical capabilities to succeed in the Premier League. Sargent will have to score more regularly, but at such a young age he'll likely have a greater sell-on value. Southampton's transfer strategy has been clearly focused on bringing in young talent. Adam Armstrong will hope to fill Danny Ings' boots. Their 2 new fullbacks offer the greatest sign of encouragement for the future though. Thierry Small, signed from Everton, has been tipped to become a brilliant left-back. On the right, Valentino Livramento, signed from Chelsea, looks to already be a key component of Southampton's defence, and still only at 18. The 18-year-old has been the Saints player in the early weeks of the season that has impressed the most, so much so that Kyle Walker-Peters has only been able to re-enter the team via the left-back position. If Livramento continues at this trajectory, he will join England's crop of extremely talented right-backs, and all just for £5 million. Harry Kane's future dominated Tottenham's transfer window, but the club still strengthened their side whilst adding a more youthful tone to the squad. Bryan and Emerson seem like astute upgrades on Lamela and Aurier. With the loss of Alderweireld, the capture of Christian Romero should provide Spurs with one of the league's best centre-backs for years to come. An all-encompassing centre-back that was in the 99th percentile for pressures, tackles and interceptions last season. Romero was also a creative force from defence, producing 0.88 shot-creating actions per 90. Even though he's 23, it appears that he is close to being the full package for a centre-back. Watford had a usually chaotic window. This, again, was no different. Choosing 1 from 11 incomings isn't easy. However, the addition of Imran Louza is promising. He scored 7 and assisted 3 for Nantes in Liga last season. With the departure of Will Hughes, as well as a new-look frontline, Watford will be relying on Louza to provide tempo and assuredness in midfield, while still chipping in with goals. At 22, it's unknown whether the task will be too great for Louza and Watford, but he's certainly a player that will grow into his role. West Ham have been incredibly smart with their business. Areola provides fine competition to Fabianski, Vlasic should fill in the good work done by Lingard last season, and Král will add additional steel to the central midfield. But Kurt Zuma looks to be their greatest purchase. £31 million is a steep price, but at 26 and with bundles of domestic and European experience, he will slot straight into a solid defensive partnership with Angelo Ogbonna. He fits into the West Ham frame of being dominant in the air, winning 4.21 headers per 90 last season, but with the added touch of passing excellence. Zuma attempted 77 passes last season with a success rate of nearly 90%. Granted, he was in a Chelsea team playing with a back three who gave licence to their centre-backs on the ball. Even still, his addition will benefit West Ham defensively and in building from the back. With concerns over whether Raul Jimenez can return to his form prior to the horrific head injury he suffered, Wolves needed to acquire sufficient backup, and that came in the form of Hwang Hee-Chang on a loan deal. Hwang struggled last season for RB Leipzig, scoring just 3 Bundesliga goals, but his form at RB Salzburg has given Wolves enough encouragement that the Korean can be a success. In the 1920 season, Hwang managed 23 goal involvements in 27 games. His pace can provide a different option to Jimenez. Still, at only 25, there's hope that a fruitful loan spell could lead to a permanent deal next season.